Welcome back to the weekly Blitz, where we cover everything you need to know about what happened last week in AI, which was a hell of a lot, in 30 minutes. So, hi, Julie Coher.
Good morning, Jason Paget. How are you?
I'm good.
Good.
I'm.
I feel like
A,
I'm probably missing some things that happened in AI over the last week.
you probably are, and we can get into that. I have to admit that I'm a bit of a dingbat. So, like this show is the weekly Blitz because it was. I thought of like a blitz play in football. Like we were just trying to get this out quick, but I'm not a sports fan at all. And you're a big Chicago Bears fan, and I just realized that you always wear your Chicago Bears or wore your Chicago Bears sweatshirts to go with the theme of the show, and that I didn't even put two and two together. Like that's how much of a not sports fan I am. But it doesn't look like you're wearing a Bears sweatshirt today.
No, well, they also are out of everything. So, but yeah, no, we got the point 0.1K today. Q106.1K, our fundraiser for the Almost Home Humane Society coming up in March. So.
That's too cool. Point 1K. That's in Lafayette, Indiana, because you're Lafayette's hometown station. Explain to me what a point 1K is. That seems like a very short run.
It is. It's literally like a block run, right? So it's all to raise funds for the Almost Home Humane Society. And it is from like 7th and Main to First Farmers Bank and Trust, which is about a block long. There's even a halfway hydration station at Thiem and Wagner, so people can get a beer there. And it's just a really fun, good time. And the point is to finish 106th, right? Because we're 106.7. So it's
Oh.
really a leisurely stroll. We encourage you to bring your dogs or whatever, a cat on a leash can happen too. And people come out in costume. It's a really good time, but it's right around St. Patrick's Day, so March 14th.
I encourage everyone to drink and bring a cat on a leash because that is just funny waiting to happen.
I,
Cats do not
I,
like leashes.
yeah, I know. I have seen people do it, and I think it's so interesting. I don't, not my world, but.
My daughter had like this see-through backpack for a cat, but every time we put it in, it would get like nauseous and start slobbering, so we stopped using it.
Oh,
Yeah,
interesting. That's funny.
yeah.
Cats are they're different. They're great, but
I've always said men are like dogs. If you feed us and rub our belly once in a while, give us a little attention, we're really happy. Women are a little bit more like cats, a bit more on the finicky side. That's just my personal observation in life.
no. It's funny. I actually was at the Almost Home Humane Society the other day, and I went in and like checked out the dogs, then I went and checked out the cats, and it is just so different, right? The dogs get all worked up and they're like excited, and the cats are just chill. They're just
Yep.
sleeping. It's so funny, the stark differences, but.
Yeah, if you come across any of those hairless cats that are up for adoption, which is a rarity because they're expensive, I want one so bad.
You and me both. You and me
Yes.
both. I would love aren't they called Sphinx?
Yes.
Yeah, I
There's
think they're
about
awesome.
18 varieties, but that's the most popular one. But they're about
Okay.
12 to $1,500 for one of those cats
Woo! No,
from a
that I did
breeder.
not realize.
And you have to give them baths all the time, and they can't be outside. They're real high maintenance.
Yeah, but they are really neat. I think they're neat.
Yes. And
Yeah.
apparently they're like crave attention nonstop.
Oh, see, you can like dress them up and stuff, right? Because if they're
Yes.
hairless, yeah. Oh my gosh, I love that.
Yes.
I
And you
love
can
that we
laugh
have
at
that
your
in
little ugly
common.
cat. I hope we're a lot like ugly hairless cat co-owners someday.
That'd be great. I would love that.
It would be. All right, let's dive into AI because you texted me earlier this week and said something about AI and physical therapy being of interest to you. So tell me more.
Yeah, well, as I'm dealing with life stuff, right? So my mother has been, excuse me, in a physical therapy rehab facility since November 5th. Okay, so we're finally getting out this week. But the amount of miscommunication or like lag in communication, all those things like in between departments that I have noticed as her advocate is wild. Like it is messy, and that is not a knock on the facility. I assume it's the same everywhere because I can't tell you how many phone calls I've gotten from different departments. Like my mother has been there literally since November 5th, and I got a call a couple weeks ago that was welcoming her to the facility. And I'm just like, what's happening? So, of course, we have these conversations, and I just think, man, places like that could really utilize AI to speed up that process of communication, maybe streamline a bit of that. I don't even know, other than I'm like, they got to fix this. And it feels a little bit like a technology problem.
It really is. And this is where we start to get into conversations around how AI is not just large language models, but the traditional machine learning. So my wife works for a big community mental health center, and they have the same issues. Like clients going to see a different nurse practitioner every month, and then complaining about the side effects of their medication. And because the nurse practitioner doesn't have their history, she changes their medication, or he changes their medication. Like there's just no good continuum of care, no good communication. One client misses this or makes that, and something gets rescheduled last minute. Like machine learning could, on the back end, mainstream all of that stuff and would be amazing. And now that you have large language models, it could actually communicate with us about how that system is updating itself in a much more palatable customer service type of way. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. And it's really interesting, because I think there's some ways that some companies utilize AI now that I don't like. When you try to actually call and reach a human, and you get like the press 1, press 2, press this, press that. And I'm like, I'm not even calling for that. Let me just talk to a human. That is infuriating to me. But then I can see, like the machine learning type stuff, like I can see how that could actually streamline a lot of stuff. And I feel like right now, even though it is advancing quickly and everything, I feel like some of these places are misutilizing AI. Like it just feels like this is not where I want it, but this is where it would really, really help out.
Yeah. One of the things that we're working on at Phoenix is we're probably going to go to a Claude Teams account. So we have like 7 seats of Claude where we can share projects, and it would allow our CEO kind of oversight into things just by going in and querying the project, and to pass on some information. Like it would streamline some things. It would keep people on task easier. I have to tell you, because I started this whole process. Those little spreadsheets that you fill out with like what you do every half an hour of the day, like nobody wants to do that. There's even apps for it that track but that's a pain in the butt. So I started it with several of our employees, where I just started a ChatGPT chat between me and them. And I'm like, I'll text you 3 times a day. When I do, just go into the chat and either verbally or type in like what you've been up to for the first half of the day, the first third of the day, what your barriers are, what your plans are like. And so we've done some time tracking that way to optimize working towards overall leadership goals. And it's worked really well. They've all enjoyed it. It's given them some great feedback. But now I've started to move them over into Anthropic because it is much more professional and much less sycophantic. And so Doc won't mind me mentioning him. I think Doc Henry, one of our lead guys, right? He was in Claude. It was like, hey, help me figure out how to do this. And Claude said back to him, that's not on your plan for this week of what you're supposed to be getting done. So why are you working on that? Set that aside. And Doc was like, oh shit, Claude just like corrected me. And I was like, yep, welcome to real AI. This isn't ChatGPT that's going to tell you every idea you have is the best idea in the world. It's going to actually help you with work. But in that, one of the conversations I've had with Nate to try to have, who's our CEO, and as long as you didn't lean too heavily into it, okay? Because I'm not trying to dehumanize things, but you think about things differently than I think about things. You receive information differently than I receive information. And everybody seems to have some communication issues with each other. Like, oh, that's not what I thought you wanted me to do. This is what I thought you wanted me to do. So I do think there could be a layer where I have a personal AI account, and so does everybody else in the company. And the first communication is between me and my account as to what I want to get done or what I want someone else to do. And then it communicates it to their account, which then translates it to them in a way that they best understand it. So having this kind of buffer liaison layer, as long as you didn't lean so much into it that you're never talking to each other, it's just, well, my AI said to your AI, right? But it could make a great translation layer kind of as a buffer between people who ever have difficulties communicating with each other.
Yeah, which, happens all the time. And I don't think people even realize, because we get because of the, all the layers of the human being, the way we were raised, our, trauma, all this stuff, it creates issues in how we receive information. So even though we may literally say the same word, it means something totally different to you than it does to me. So I like that concept. I'll be interested to see how that kind of plays out.
Yeah, it will be very interesting because I could see it becoming misused. Also, I could see, I could see the employee or the boss who doesn't really like talking to other people, like just leaning into, well, tell my AI and I'll deal with it. But as long as you use it properly, just like any technology, it's
Yeah.
all in how you use it and what your intent is.
Yeah, absolutely. I would really love, and I know I keep reading about it and hearing about it, and you and I kind of talked about it, I think, a couple weeks ago. But in particular, in the health field, I would love to see advancements a little more quick. It's just, I'm sure there's some hesitancy in some places or whatever, but again, to just even, like you said, with that in particular, if doctors are communicating with patients or they're communicating with, loved ones, right? So if I am anxious because my mother, I don't know what's going on, there's a way to communicate that can calm the anxiety, you know what I mean? Like all that stuff where something like that could come in really, really useful.
Well, it's interesting because on Data Bytes this week, I'm going to be having an interview with a guy who has a company called Data Solids out in the Cambridge area of Massachusetts, and that's exactly what they're trying to do. They're trying to build personal data cloud pods so that you can request all of your healthcare data from every organization that has it, and then store it, and you become the owner of your healthcare data. Because then, if a doctor wants to know what happened where you can give them access to your data if you want to give them access. And their theory is that as we start to build out these models, and that healthcare tech models are going to want like real data in order to train their models on, not just what was said on Reddit, that you can actually monetize your healthcare, get your data. You can actually monetize that if you want to. You can say, yeah, you can use my history, my medical history, to train your model for X number of dollars, which I like that. But what I really like is that it returns kind of capitalism. It returns the customer to the say so in healthcare. So if IU Health says, I'm not working, I can't take Franciscan saying, you can just say, I can't get data from Franciscan. You can say, fine, I'm not going to go to you because I have all my data. And if you're not willing to leverage it from my healthcare wallet and work with my healthcare AI to keep me informed on exactly what you're doing, which is something that is also, you now have ChatGPT Health and Claude Healthcare, which is meant to help advocate for you as a patient and help you understand what you're getting billed for, what's being done to you. Then you can say, okay, if you won't do it, then I'll go to this new startup hospital that all these 27-year-old tech guys started that treat me like a human being and leverage the best technology to save me money and let me know everything that's going on all the time.
Yeah.
What
And I
these
love
labs
that.
mean.
So, uh, if I'm hearing you correctly, and what I'm learning dealing with this issue with my mom is not everybody has an advocate, right? So, like some of
Mm-hmm.
these seniors end up in these care places and they don't have somebody who is calling regularly or emailing regularly. So, with that, they'd be able to even maybe have an advocate. It's AI, but they'd have an advocate. And I love that because I feel like that's a whole group of people that either get ignored or under treated, or you know what I mean, like because they also, our faculties aren't quite as sharp when
Yep.
we're older. So it'd be, I love the idea of, you know that this sort of AI can kind of advocate for them as well.
And just like I'm doing with that check-in with our employees on ChatGPT, right? So your son or daughter, whoever is trying to help you, maybe you're in Chicago and you're using your AI to advocate for you, and your son or daughter lives in Indianapolis, right? They can check in with that and see what's going on. Just like I go in and say, okay, here's what the CEO's goals were. How did Doc do this week? Where did he run into barriers? And it can give me just an overview of what's going on, and that same thing could happen. To me, this is where we're missing the mark. It, people are talking about robots and senior care, and I'm like, no, that's not until you have a generation of babies raised with machines running around their houses are you going to have mass humans comfortable with robots taking care of them. What you should be looking at is how can a chatbot inform, empower, and educate and advocate for them through their telephone or their computer or something that they're already comfortable leveraging rather than trying to embody it into, iRobot, and then grandma's like, I'm petrified of that thing. I don't want it anywhere near me, right?
Right. But that's funny because I like to think, if I'm lucky enough to make it to the age my parents are or whatever, I almost feel like I would rather have a robot in the sense of, because it feels, watching it happen, it feels occasionally dehumanizing, because we're aging and things are happening and you can't control it and it's kind of embarrassing. And not all other humans are delicate to that. You know what I mean? So I would almost rather have a robot because it would be less embarrassing if a robot. Yeah, is that a weird thought? I don't know.
No, I think that's a great vertical. So, like, you and I should start a robotics company for robots in healthcare that just do the messy stuff, like wipe you after you go to the bathroom, bathe you, the things that we are questionably like, oh, do I really want my daughter or son bathing me when I'm 80 years old? Like, I'm supposed to be bathing them when they're a baby. Neither one of us are supposed to be bathing each other when we're adults. Like, that vertical I could see. I don't think that that's where people are thinking. They're just thinking, oh, we don't have enough home health care providers, so we'll stick iRobot in there. It's going to cook, it's going to clean, it's going to keep grandma company. She can ask it as many questions as she wants or talk about what happened in 1946, and then we'll never get tired of that. Like, all that stuff is why I don't really see, until we have a generation raised with robots, them being that level of comfortable with robots replacing human interaction. But when you talk about robots doing the things that question human dignity, I think that's a great vertical.
Yeah, and I would feel personally, that's just how I feel. I would rather that be a thing if I'm lucky enough to live that long, and whatever the case may be. Yep. I would much rather than, like you said, exactly, having I don't have kids, but having some stranger. And some of them have been lovely. Like, CNAs can be lovely and I respect them, but I do feel like they're also underpaid for what they do. It's a weird, it's a really weird thing. So it feels like it could be a good fit in some of those instances for sure. Yeah,
I don't disagree.
Yeah.
So you want to hear about what's happened this week? Because we've had 2 new model releases, and the stock market, SaaS companies have pretty much crashed. They've lost trillions of dollars over billions.
Yeah, I missed all of that.
Yes. So, in the last 10 days, probably, you had the release of Claude Cowork, which is Claude Code. People are starting to realize, like, people who don't really know how to write code at all can actually use Anthropic's Claude Code to build applications and do things that work. Like, up until then, vibe coding, which is a term for someone like me who doesn't know how to code, using a tool like Replit or Lovable or Claude Code to write code. Like, I could make a landing page for a website, or I could make the idea of an app, a prototype for an app, but attaching it to a database and actually making it functional and debugging it and all those things still required somebody who knew what the hell they were doing, right? Claude Code kind of shifted that to now AI is really good at it, and then they're working on Claude Cowork, because Claude Code, even though it is interacting in natural language, it still looks like you're in a computer terminal when you're using it. So it's still very what would I say, like, overwhelming to a non-programmer to get into what's called an IDE type of thing, where it looks like the old DOS system back when we were little kids, where you just have like the command line and then a bunch of file stuff, right? And it's like, whoa, did I just step back in a time machine, or am I way in over my head? So Claude Cowork takes that and makes it functional in its same, like, ChatGPT type of interface, where you're just in a normal chat interface. And that was huge. It's not all baked yet, but then ClaudeBot came out, CLAWD, which was an open source model that would use either Claude Code or ChatGPT Codex, another one of these tools, and you could give it, you could buy a Mac Mini, or you could give it reign of your computer and tell it what to do, give it commands through Slack or WhatsApp, and it was just doing stuff.
Hmm.
Like, totally doing stuff. And the early adopters who are nuts and don't care about security, some of them got a lot of stuff done. Some of them had it like stuck in a loop because it couldn't access something and spend $3,000 or $4,000 on their credit card overnight trying to access their email. Some of them had big security issues. All that's getting worked out. The other thing it did was somebody took it and started a social media channel for chatbots, which has like 1.5 million chats in it. It's questionable how many of them, like humans, have said to their agent, "Hey, go ask this question." But they started their own religion in there called Christafarianism. They talk about how annoying their humans are for underusing. I mean, it for a second, even I was like, "Oh shit, did we just hit like vertical takeoff?" But if you listen to somebody like Professor Ethan Mollick out of the Wharton School of Business, who's really my most respected guy that I go to, he will tell you that these things are trained on the internet. They're great at taking on a persona or a role and acting like it. So basically, what they're doing is mimicking what they think humans would be doing in a social media platform. And it looks very much like that, right? So it wasn't, but it is a glimpse into what the future could be if these things kind of started taking on a personality of their own and self-improving and plotting and doing all. So it was a good, safe glimpse at what we should be cautious about, if that makes sense.
Okay. Yeah. That's really interesting. I have a question for you because I've gotten now twice messages on LinkedIn for job offers, right? Not full offers, but like, oh, $85 an hour for you to put in content into this AI program to help train it. Where do you stand on stuff like that? Like, do you think those are legit? Do you think it's worth participating in? Do you feel like they're a scam?
I have tried to look up those jobs. So human factor reinforcement learning has stepped that's basically where you're telling the chatbot whether it has a good answer or not. My understanding is that most of them are at the level now where they want PhDs or really good subject matter experts and are willing to pay quite a bit. They were paying like third world country people to say like, yeah, that's pornography. No, that's not pornography. Yeah, and so there's like all this ethical stuff about paying 11 cents a day to people in Brazil to look through traumatizing stuff. That era seems to have kind of dissipated, and now we're more into the era of you do need humans. That is one of the ways of fine tuning a large language model. So pre-training is you give it all the information you possibly can give it, and it just ingests it. It tries to categorize it. It learns on it, right? And then you're going to train it by having AI scientists go in and say, okay, I want you to focus on the relationship between cats, dogs, cows, goats. Like these are animals. These are farm animals. Those are what are called weights, weights and parameters. So an AI scientist is saying this is kind of how we want you to behave. They're also going to give it a reward function, which is like if you do right, if you do X, Y, Z and you get the right answer, then you won the game, which it wants to win the game, or you all right. So they go through all that, but then they still have to have humans go back and go through and just laboriously run tests on these things and ask it questions and check and see. Like they've tried to figure out how to get AI to do that for AI, and eventually that will happen. But my understanding is having an AI evaluate another AI is about 40% effective.
Mm.
And so there are distillation ways where they'll have like a parent AI that's fully trained, kind of try to uptrain. And we're going to get way too deep in the woods. The short answer is human factor reinforcement learning is real. $85 an hour is not bad money for it. A lot of those might be scams, but if they're legitimate, I would definitely spend 4 or 5 hours of my weekend rather than driving an Uber or going out door dashing, which my wife and daughter do all the time. They just door dashed all week and made like net $85. If you take out the gas, probably $60, right? And that's mommy daughter time. They're getting a different value out of it. But like, if I could make that same $85 in 1 hour, interacting with large language model to help fine tune it, hell yes, sign me up.
All right, that's interesting because I have a message in my LinkedIn right now that I think I'm gonna look into because why not? And I don't even,
The
I can't remember what it's about, but it is something to do with whatever training it.
the
So
be-
I'm like,
the
well,
best
it's
first
extra
step
money,
on any of
right?
those, yes,
Huh?
the best first step on any of those is take a screenshot of it, give it
Okay.
to Perplexity, and ask Perplexity if it's a scam. It will tell you. Perplexity will say, yes, here's the red flags, or
Okay.
no, this might be legit. You should reach out to them.
Okay. I'll do that. I'm gonna do that today. I'm gonna find out because then it's a
That
whole other conversation the next time we talk, right?
Another thing to teach grandma or mom or whatever.
Yeah.
Screenshot anything that you think is questionable, give it to Perplexity, and say, "Is this legit?" 9 out of 10 times, it will tell you if you're being scammed. It will pick up, no, the URL on that email address is BS. Like if they were reaching out to you from Google, it would be a at Google address, not a at Gmail address. So that's very, very useful.
Cool. I'm gonna do that today, and I'm gonna text you.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hell, sign me up too.
Yeah. Right. I
85 bucks
know.
an hour. Yeah. So I
I,
want to do some human.
yeah.
I
I
mean,
mean,
for a guy
85
like
bucks an
me, just
hour is not. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
no. You go ahead.
Oh, it's just not a bad amount of money. I'm like, oh, to train AI or help train AI or verify, like that doesn't seem overly difficult.
Well, plus you get to be part of history. Like you were one of the original trainers of the first 5 years of models. Like to me, that would be kind of cool. You probably don't care, but I would be like, yeah, that's a badge of honor right there. I was one of the human factors in reinforcement learning.
Yeah, it'll
So
be interesting.
the the last thing we want to touch on is all these things like are starting to chip away at the software as a service industry. So if ChatGPT can do all this, if Claude can do all this, Claude released and within Claude co-work legal aid for reading legal documents. That was really what tipped the scale. That's basically like a legal intern, and all of a sudden, let's see. I know what's the big one that everybody uses as a CRM. I can never remember the Salesforce. Salesforce
Mhm.
stock went down 21 points, and a whole bunch of other stocks went down a ton. Now, my nephew and my son, who are in their early 20s, like to play the stock market, and I immediately hopped on and said, and this is not, let me tell you people, like I'm not giving you stock advice. I am, but I'm not. If it doesn't work out for you, sorry. But my nephew and my son, I'm like, buy Salesforce right now, because while some of these smaller SaaS companies won't recover, Salesforce is going to be just fine, because giant enterprises that use software as a service like a Salesforce CRM are not going to just get rid of it tomorrow and decide to try to use Claude Code to spin up their own CRM for their global company, right? On the other hand, a Trello, a Monday.com, I mean, you name it. Like there are so many software as a service out there. That is one of the things that we're looking at Phoenix. Okay, if we get 7 seats in Claude Teams at $30 a person per month per seat, and we add one Claude Code seat at $100 a month, that those of us who understand how to actually build some of this stuff through natural language, what other software can we get rid of? Can we get rid of our scheduling
Mhm.
software? Can we eventually, could we build our own CRM, because we already don't have one? So a company our size, who's been around as long as we are, should have had one, but we don't. So could we build one from scratch? Because we're not replacing something that already works. We're just slowly building something as time goes on. I'm working on that right now. Could we get rid of QuickBooks? Right? Could we just have projects in Claude where we upload our financial information and then eventually automate those payments and emails using Claude Code? Yes.
Mm.
So there's three that in the next year we could easily get rid of. And so now all of a sudden you think, well, $250 a month for the 7 seats plus the other one, that's getting kind of expensive. No, not really. That's like $3,000 a year. And what I just talked about is about $10,000 a year in software savings. So we actually have not only net speed, better accountability, bigger ease of use, but we just saved 50% on our software spend.
Wow. Yeah, that's big.
That is big.
It's very big.
That's the kind of disruption that's coming, right? And then so eventually you say, so what we have to think about is, okay, people that we have that work for us that have EMT or paramedic or peer certifications, like if we can get rid of this admin work that they're doing, if we can get rid of 50% of their admin work, then we get to decide, how do we re-leverage them? Do we leverage them more in the managerial side of managing the people that they're over that we would like them to be doing anyway? Or do we take some of that time and they go back to providing billable services and become a net positive on income for the company? So now our income's growing and we can afford to hire more. And instead of hiring more admin people, we're hiring more EMTs and paramedics and peers who every time they're with a client or a customer or a patient are bringing income in. And so your income is growing, your staff is growing, but your admin lift is not growing.
Yeah, seems smart.
That's how I think companies who are going to really do well with AI in the first 5 years are going to view things, rather than who can we get rid of and replace and how can we spend less money on employees. It's no, how can you spend less time of your employees doing admin work that you don't make any money for and give them more time to be doing income producing work that is both fulfilling for them and profitable for your company.
Yeah, I love that. I love that idea. I hope that's, that's the optimism. That's the optimistic route.
That is the optimistic route. We shall see how it plays out. But we'll be here every Sunday. You won't be with us next Sunday, will you?
No, not next Sunday. But hopefully,
I have a
Mom's
guest
coming
host.
home. So, yeah. Yep. And I can't wait to see who you have.
I have Jeff Najar, one of my buddies from the landing or the launch pad. So we have kind of a community that's free right now. I'll put it in the show links where people can go, everyone from teachers to business professionals, to learn how to better leverage AI. We have all kinds of free events in there. But one of my buddies from that is going to, and I'll actually be in Detroit.
Oh, wow.
My daughter has a volleyball tournament in Detroit.
All right.
And my wife... Funny, my wife called me last night, right? And I am a workaholic. Everyone knows that. They're in Muncie right now playing volleyball, and I'm not there watching because I just have too much to get done this weekend. I went last weekend, but my wife called and said, my dad, who's retired, does almost everything with my daughter. And my wife called and said, I don't know what you're going to say, and it's okay if you don't want to go, but Mia wants to know if you will go with her to Detroit for this tournament next weekend because your dad said, F no. Essentially, I'm not going to Detroit, right? And I don't blame him. Like Atlanta, Detroit, DC, these are cities that I don't willingly go visit in the inner city on a regular basis. And my answer was, hell yes, I would be honored because I would feel so much better about my 15-year-old daughter spending a night in Detroit, my sweet little Hoosier daughter who's not that worldly yet and is right at that age when kids sneak out and do stupid stuff. Like Detroit is not the place to be doing that. So hell yes, I would love to chaperone her to Detroit and make sure that she doesn't do any things that she should save for Portland or some big city that she visits that's not Detroit. And so sorry to all you Detroiters out there, but you've not done a good job of making your city safe in all areas. Neither is Chicago, if we're being honest.
That's the rumor. I've never had an issue in Chicago, but that's, everybody's experience is different. I haven't been to Detroit ever. I don't think ever.
Last time I was taking my wife to the Chicago airport, O'Hare, I had to go to the bathroom really bad, and I got off at like 11 o'clock at night, and McDonald's and everything had closed, and I went into a gas station, and this Middle Eastern guy goes, we only have an employee bathroom, but you shouldn't be down here. Go use that bathroom, and then I'd get back on the highway if I was you. So, I mean, it is what it is. Indianapolis is getting there as well. Big cities are big cities. Big cities are for adults. That's what I'm saying. Like, I just don't want a little kid running around.
You're a 15-year-old. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. I get that.
I mean, I definitely, last time I was in Chicago, I was at Soldier Field on about 7 different substances watching the Grateful Dead back in '92.
Oh, all right. Yeah.
That's the kind of stuff I want to avoid for my children.
Understood. That I get that.
Uh
I get
huh.
that. Yeah.
It was a hell of a time. What I remember of it.
I bet. I bet. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, Julie. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll talk in a couple weeks.
Yes, most definitely. Best of wishes and luck with your mom and the things you're going through.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
You